Welcome to the Security Operations December 2020 store release video featuring Quebec release capabilities. In this video, we'll be discussing some of the new innovations for both security incident response and vulnerability response. And first, let's start with security incident response. Now, customers use remote detonation in sandboxes like Crowdstrike Falcon Sandbox to determine the behavior of suspicious files. But this can be a manual and laborious process. We've added some enhancements to automatically submit observables from security incidents to CrowdStrike Falcon Sandbox. Now, this does require an additional license from CrowdStrike, but it saves security analysts a ton of time and effort. Next, let's talk about our MSSP platform integration with Secureworks. Now, many managed service security providers, try saying that 5 times fast, or MSSPs, experience the challenge of syncing Secureworks comments with security incident response reports, or work notes, making it more difficult to map incident tickets and event fields. The new integration with Secureworks eliminates these challenges and allows MSSPs to ingest incidents from Secureworks and automate the process in security incident response. Next, let's talk about how security teams are struggling to understand their adversary's intent when dealing with security incidents and may incorrectly prioritize these incidents without this information. In this release, we've added support for the MITRE attack framework. ATT&CK stands for Adversarial Tactics, Techniques, and Common Knowledge, a knowledge base of cyber attack tactics and techniques used as a foundation for the development of specific threat models and methodologies. This new capability maps incidents to the MITRE attack framework to provide advanced context on attacks and help reduce the overall attack surface. Shifting our focus to vulnerability response, let's start with how customers and stakeholders often spend significant time identifying assets and their corresponding owner, and how this can be particularly stressful if vulnerabilities are critical. With vulnerability assignment recommendations, we apply machine learning to an organization's unique unstructured vulnerability and asset data to drive ownership predictions. The feature learns from ongoing assignment selections, thus improving recommendations as the organization's assignment process matures. This capability also reduces time to identify owners in large environments. Let's take a minute to look at this capability in action. So let's start the demonstration by looking at this top vulnerability group. We can see that the assignment group has already been set. The system chose the Unix support group, and it's going to do that based on a variety of different variables that the customer can configure. So things like who the asset owner is, for example, is one piece. If it's a piece of software, if it's an application, that they're using. It can be the application owner, etc. And if I'm not happy with the group that it's automatically been assigned, I can just click this light bulb and it will show me the other group recommendations and as well the average confidence score. So it's learning. So the system is actually going to be learning how to better make these assignment recommendations and then give you confidence scores for the other groups that could be assigned to these vulnerability groups. So that's a quick look at vulnerability assignment recommendation that's coming in the December 2020 store release. Given the growing interest for vulnerability response, Tenable and ServiceNow are offering an additional option for integrating Tenable's data feeds into ServiceNow vulnerability response. The new application, Vulnerability Response for Tenable, developed and supported by ServiceNow, was built using ServiceNow's best practices and validated by Tenable to meet complex customer requirements. The app provides our joint customers with a new option to establish and manage their IT security workflows while ensuring they still have insights they need to execute on a risk-based approach for vulnerability management. And finally, let's discuss an exciting new innovation for vulnerability response. Application vulnerability management ensures application vulnerabilities are prioritized alongside infrastructure and configuration vulnerabilities, reflecting the rise in breaches traced to application vulnerabilities. Customers will gain improved collaboration between the security and development organizations for faster remediation. And lastly, it integrates with Veracode to scan for DAST, or Dynamic Application Security Testing results, to determine the riskiness of a vulnerability, enabling vulnerability teams to centralize all of the data for full visibility into vulnerability exposure and then orchestrate the remediation workflow. Let's take a look at application vulnerability management in action. So to start, we can see that there are some new dashboards that are available for application vulnerability management. This first one, the tab is going to show the security posture for application vulnerabilities. It's going to show things like the application vulnerability items, unassigned items, the distribution of criticality for the vulnerable items, application vulnerable items by age, etc. We can also see the remediation trends in the organization. So as a vulnerability manager, I'm going to want to be able to see, for example, the mean time to remediate an application vulnerable item. So how long is it taking me to actually remediate these application vulnerabilities when they're discovered? And then finally, the scoreboard. So how are the applications doing? How are the business units doing in resolving their applications? So that's a look at a quick look at the dashboards. Now let's take a look at the data that's imported from the application vulnerability scanner. So in this case, it's Veracode, and we're going to take a look at one of the application vulnerabilities, and we can see there's a lot of similar information that we see on the infrastructure vulnerable items. So those vulnerable items that we're pulling in from places like Tenable and whatnot. So it's going to assign it a risk score, a remediation target, what the actual vulnerability is, as well as the actual application release, the release module, the location of the specific application, as well as additional information like what is a brief summary of what's going on, and a link back to the actual Veracode application vulnerability. It'll also automatically do an assignment for this application vulnerability. So in this case, it's the Team Angels. So that development team is going to be notified of the application vulnerability that was discovered on the Zero online banking application, and it will tell them that this is a critical application vulnerability that needs to be resolved. So that's a brief look at application vulnerability management that's coming in the December 2020 store release. That was a quick look at the December store release for security operations. If you'd like to learn more, please visit us at www.servicenow.com/securityoperations. Thank you.